All right, welcome to the living room, the healthy living inspirations, where we're learning how to live healthy, even though we're living in a toxic world. So we just finished watching Sugar, the Sweet Death. And now we are going to, you can hear me, there we go, use slideshow. I need to know if you all can see my slide pictures. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my slide pictures. Can we see my slide pictures? Nancy, Pat, can you see my slide pictures? No. All right, then let me stop share. Sometimes I have to go back and share in order. Can you see it now? Okay, all right, great. Okay, so we're going to talk about ways. Now, I know the holidays are coming up, right? So this is a season to be sugar, right? And so we have got a challenge. So at the end of this presentation, I'm going to talk about maybe we should think about the challenge after the holiday season, but be conscious about what you've seen here tonight. Put sugar to death. As a matter of fact, when the top scientists in the world actually gathered together and talked about what is really killing not only Americans, but every culture around the world, they all said, this is a famous line, after all, we know it's sugar that's going to be the end of us all. They all admitted that sugar was the #1 culprit. And this documentary that we just watched describes it very clearly. He said that sugar is implemented in many diseases, especially metabolic diseases. And metabolic diseases is the chronic diseases that we're dying from. So let's take a look at some ways that we can actually change that picture. Let's talk about 10 ways on how we can break the sugar addiction in 10 days. Remember on that documentary when the lady, she was saying, I couldn't stop if I had to have my lollies. I had to have my sugar. We're going to talk about that. Did you know that sugar is actually addicting? Yes. Control the cravings and invest in your health. 10 ways in 10 days. And again, we can talk about how we can actually do this as a group after the holidays. I'd love for you to join me in this process. Now, brain reset, re-educate your tongue. They talked about when you do break the sugar addiction and when you go back to tasting the sugar, it doesn't taste as sweet as it did prior. It doesn't have that zippity doo-dah, whatever. It doesn't have the grip or the hold on you. As a matter of fact, I was talking with my son as he was talking about my class tonight. And he goes, yeah, Mom, when I quit sugar and then I started eating again, he said, I noticed that it didn't taste as good to me as it used to. And we're going to talk about that. Why? Because your brain has hormones and then your body has hormones. Because of sugar's addicted nature, that it actually triggers the brain hormones and then it takes control over the body hormones. So let's think seriously about committing to a 10-day sugar detox. And we'll talk more clearly about that during the holidays and after the holidays. View sugar as toxic. How many times on that documentary did they say sugar is toxic instead of a symbol of rebellion? And when I talk about rebellion is sometimes when you use food as a rebel device. You might say, oh, I'm just depressed, or, oh, I'm mad, so I'm going to go out and have an ice cream sundae, or I'm going to have my, my secret sugar stash because I'm just, going to be in rebellion of whatever is out of control in your life. Or how about activates the same neurotransmitters in the brain as cocaine? Remember, the brain has hormones, the body has hormones. And you're talking about it's 8 times more addicting than cocaine? Yes, what triggers the brain hormones 8 times more powerful than cocaine. And this is why your tolerance levels raises And all of a sudden, it's never enough. And the lady on the documentary, when she says, I couldn't stop, I had to have more, I had to have more, I had to have more. And the young lady and the older lady, really not older, she was in her 52, 53 on kidney dialysis. So in other words, when it triggers these brain hormones, the receptors, dopamine receptors, actually get saturated. And so they actually say, okay, we need more to get the same reception. So in other words, it takes more chemical in order to get the same charge. So is it not time to take back your power, value your life and your health? And also, we notice that when your brain hormones are out of balance, it's very easy to do binge eating. It's very easy to do sugar cycling, what we call sugar cycling, and shame and self-loathing always comes in the cycle of addiction with binge eating and sugar cycling. I remember talking with someone one time when I said, how did you recognize or come to reconcile that you were addicted to sugar? And this person said, well, when I threw away a cake that was in my house because it was tempting me, and in the middle of the night, I got up and pulled it out of the trash, ate every bite of it, and went back to bed. And I noticed that my urine was very heavy because of the overload of glucose in the body. And she said, the next morning, I realized, oh my God, what did I do? And so that was her awakening. Oh my God, I need to do something about this. Binge eating is like that, where if you stress eat, a lot of people stress eat. And what are you going to choose when you stress eat? You're going to choose sugar. Many times it might be salty, but salty snacks or salty addictions is actually a sign that you have a mineral deficiency. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. So it's time to create healthy, peaceful relationships with food that leaves you satisfied and not antagonistic to where you go into these cycles of shaming and loathing yourself because, oh, I just hate myself because I went and dug that cake out of the trash can and ate it all. It's time to restore your sense of balance. And it's true that when you do restore your brain hormones, you restore a sense of balance. Why? Because we are being bombarded with chemicals on every corner, every level, radiation, they're radiating our foods, they're radiating the atmosphere, and the level of pollutants is going higher and higher and higher. So be kind to yourself. And think about this sugar season. Be kind to yourself. Pay attention to your feelings and give yourself what you really need. So binge eaters, stress eaters are actually acting out of emotions that might be toxic. And so you're reaching for a toxic food in order to binge or cycle. Are you really feeling lonely? Maybe you're just lonely. Then pick up the phone and connect with someone, or get in the car and go in, meet someone at a coffee shop. Have personal connection with people. How about, pay attention to your emotions. Are you feeling bored? Then let's make a decision to get involved with something that's meaningful, something that has a mission, something that has a purpose. Are you stressed? Every time that stress levels go up, by the way, every time stress levels go up, also cravings go up, because cortisol actually triggers the hormones in the brain that triggers the notation for I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. So some other good alternatives might be to take a walk. How about look at the horizon? You might think I'm funny to say this, but it is true. The scientists have actually proven that when you're feeling that urge or that craving, that if you'll just get up from wherever you are, it might be your desk at work, it might be your desk at home, your chair, your sofa, wherever you are, even driving down the road, take a look get up and look out the window and look at the horizon. When you do that, your body actually releases melatonin. It's amazing. I'll never forget the story, and it touches my heart to share this story with you. But some of you may remember Michael that we tried to help, and Michael's passed. And Michael, I'll never forget him coming and sharing the story that he said he was so addicted to food, and especially sugar and carbs, and he was grossly obese. And he said, Miss LaVonne, I would drive down the road, and he said, all of a sudden, I felt this overwhelming feeling of wholeness and satisfaction that I rarely ever felt. I was always agitated. And I thought, I don't need food right now. I'm content. And suddenly he looked down at his hand and he had a Big Mac in his hand. He did not even remember going through the drive-thru and getting it. It was so ingrained in his subconscious that he didn't even remember it. So pay attention to what are your feelings? What are you really feeling? Are you stressed? Okay. Take a walk, look at the horizon. Walking shuts down the fight or flight response, which is that cortisol drip. Taking a walk, looking at the horizon, taking deep breaths, getting in touch with nature, because sugar increases uric acid levels in the body. This is why sugar is connected with gout and other inflammatory issues that are caused by this overabundance of acid. Gut health impacts neurotransmitters. Remember, your second brain is in your gut, and 80% of your serotonin is stored and made in your gut. And serotonin is what? It is what makes you feel content. It's what makes you feel happy about who you are and what you're doing. And so this is very important so you can decide to stop cold turkey or switch out slowly. Now, there are some people that advocate, oh, I can't switch out slowly. I need to do a cold turkey action here. And others, you might say, oh, that's too drastic. I just need to switch out some things slowly. Miss LaVonne, can you help me switch out some things slowly? Either which way you choose, yes, we can help you. Abstinence, avoidance, well, it's kind of hard to totally abstain, right? Because over 70% of the packaged foods contains what? Contains sugar. So we have to reset, looking for quick energy. So in other words, one of the causes and reasons for sugar addictions and cravings and giving into it is not getting enough quality sleep, sleep deprived. And the body finds itself looking for a quick source of energy throughout the day. I hear this a lot with some clients. Oh, I have my doldrums around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I need something to pick me up. So I just grab a candy bar, a donut, a latte, whatever it is. So if you can train your brain to wait 20 minutes before you act out your craving, you're literally reframing and the mindset. I was listening to a lady the other day as she was written all these books on overcoming several addictions and things in her life. And she was talking about how she trained her brain to actually sit and be at peace, in a state of peace, even in the midst of what used to agitate her all the time. And sometimes she would just tell her brain, wait. And one of the remarkable stories that she shared was about anxiety attacks. And the average anxiety attack, by the way, only lasts about 30 minutes. So if you can just tell your brain, this will be over in 30 minutes, I can tell my brain to relax and wait and wait through those 30 minutes rather than go into a double, triple level of anxiety. So it's all about retraining the brain. How about, so a lack of quality sleep can affect the brain hormones here. So the next one is hydration. many times mistaken for hunger. And when you are dehydrated, it blocks the release of serotonin. Notice everything folds into these brain hormones: serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine. Brain will send a false message: hunger, 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 when it's the real need inside the body is for hydration. So here, quality rest and quality hydration, staying hydrated throughout the day. Now, in this documentary, we learned that what are those children drinking all day long? They're drinking sodas, they're drinking fruit juices, and very poor choice. How about breathing deeply? The lower lobes of your lungs have more parasympathetic nerve receptors and need oxygen for a calm, relaxed, balanced state of mind. Instead of looking for a sugar fix, you're actually retraining the brain by regulating very deep breaths. So breathe deeply about 20 times, breathing deeply all the way in through the nose and then exhaling through the mouth very slowly, and doing that about 20 times. Again, doing that systematically when the thoughts come to your mind. How about this one? Try to push aside any stressful situations or decision making in the morning. Own your morning. No decisions. I want no decisions. This is me. I get up in the morning. Don't come at me with decisions, because my brain needs to have a place of rest and peace for a period of time. It's best to get out, do a power walk, a prayer walk, a nature walk. Own your morning, because your brain is not at its best when you wake up in the morning. As a matter of fact, your cortisol levels are higher, your insulin levels are higher as soon as you wake up. Why? Because about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, they kick in order to wake you up, unless you go to bed at 2 or 3. Yay. But the next is build your resilience by practicing the power of no. Break the dependency. You have the power to say no. Now, I thought it was very interesting in this documentary as they talked about the role of the government. Now, notice the interview with the food industry said, we don't want the government dictating and putting a tax on fat and a tax on sugar. And that is very, very true. But there has to be regulations on the food industry in and of itself. I believe the regulatory industry, or the regulatory agency, I should say, should go toward the industry rather than the customer. Now, I do know that there was a politician in Mexico who did get a tax on sodas. And because he did acquire that, the diabetes ratio dropped drastically in his region. Because in his area, it was cheaper to buy soda than it was water, and they could not have access to clean water without buying water. So they fed their children in their bottles soda. So it came down to, the money issue, money on one side, the consumer side, and money on the other side, the industry side. So the industry is making the money from the poor choices of the consumer. But if the consumer is poor, then the consumer has to choose poor choices. Does that make sense? So it's almost like a diabolical circle and cycle. So build your resilience and practicing by saying the power of no. Consume powerful addiction reversing foods. Now, this is where you have to really come in and say, okay, so I can't stop cold turkey. And I remember I was praying one day and I said, Lord, all these people that have these addictions to specific foods that are, destroying their health, how can I help them? And even other addictive behaviors. And the Lord says, you can't. He said, you cannot stop a bad habit. And I said, well, what do we do? And he said to me very clearly, he said, you have to teach them how to trade in their habits. And he told me they will either trade up, upgrade, Oh, they'll trade down and downgrade. Isn't that true about an alcoholic? Isn't that true about drugs? Isn't that true about anything? A little bit is never enough. The scripture talks about lust is never enough. It's never satisfied. It always wants more and more and more and more. So in other words, let's talk about making trade up to higher, better quality food choices. That rewiring the brain quiets the cravings and satisfies the brain and the body with living whole foods. So in other words, you can quiet those cravings, satisfy your body, and be content as you're rewiring the brain. Consume protein. This is paramount. How many times that Tony teaches us once a month here in the class how important it is to consume protein. How all the research is coming in. Quality protein plays a part in weight loss. Quality protein plays a part in sugar addictions. Quality protein. So in your process of breaking the power of sugar addictions, it's real important to add protein, quality protein for every single meal. So what's a quality protein? Talk about fatty fish, grass-fed meats, chicken, turkey, bacon, and eggs. Those are choices of quality protein, and try to have a quality protein with every single meal. Consume good fats. So in other words, you're going to switch out. Remember what the industry did. They took the quality protein away from us. They took the quality fats from us, and they replaced it with sugar. So what you're going to do is you're going to add the quality protein back, and you're going to add the quality fats back. So what is a good fat? Is coconut oil, avocado oil, butters, nut oils, not seed oils. Make sure you know the difference. It's not seed oils, it's nut oils like pecan and walnut oil. Tallow, which is really beef fat, olive oil. At every single meal, try to have a quality protein and add a quality fat with every single meal. Whole nuts and seeds. Start snacking on whole nuts and whole seeds. Eat non-starchy, high-dense carbs for your evening meal, such as asparagus, green beans, cabbage, greens, any kind of dark leafy greens, and broccoli and cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, making choices where they have very little carbs, but they have high density in nutrition. And there's your key right there. And many times you have to quit gluten because that is a trigger of inflammation, and dairy because the sugar will cause leaky gut syndrome. And then you have sensitivities to gluten, and then you have sensitivities to dairy. So many times you have to quit both for a period of time to reset the gut. So here's a good way is to add a quality protein is the meal like protein shakes. Absolutely. It doesn't get better. A quality protein, a full meal replacement for $3.33. And here's your other quality proteins we talked about right here. And I won't go into the quality difference. We certainly can do that at another time, but I wanted to keep this session a little bit short. So we know adding a quality protein. I know for me personally, when I go without my protein shake, I'm more inclined to say yes to the dessert. I'm more inclined. My mother-in-law's here, and ask my mother-in-law. I've had dessert twice at some of our meals. and so, okay. So, and I noticed, I thought about it, I got, oh my goodness, I did not have my protein shake both those days. And I'm telling you, my resistance stands strong when I've had my quality protein inside of me. Now I ate a couple of extra chicken wings, but that didn't count. So here you have macronutrient protein benefits. Let's talk about the benefits, which is a macro nutrients, fats, protein, and carbs. Remember what Dr. Lustig said on the documentary? The brain needs very finite amounts of sugar to function. The liver needs finite amounts of sugar to function. But the most important way to keep the sugar carb cravings down, I can't stress enough, is quality protein. Here's some benefits. It contains immunoglobulins. Of course, that's not little green creatures, but that is part of our God-given immune system. Glutamines, which is part of your immune system. So when your immune system is down, your cravings actually go up, doesn't it? Amino acids are important. How many are there? There's 22. So your protein shake needs to have all 22. Promotes balance of hormones so you can feel normal again. What hormones are those amino acids going to promote for a balance? Brain hormones, serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine. Those are the brain hormones that are always, always active in addictions. The more your body hormones are balanced, the less your body will feel inclined towards sugar cravings. Brain stabilizers. Amino acids are brain stabilizers, and they regulate blood sugar. I love that. Fiber and protein. There's 5 grams of soluble and insoluble fiber in our Neolife shake. And whoa, it is going to help you regulate that blood sugar level. Reducing risk of what? Diabetes by slowing down insulin response. Remember they talked about having a spike in insulin versus keeping it level at all times? Remember, your triglycerides is a determiner of how many times you're hitting the spike, hitting the spike, hitting the spike. If your triglycerides are high, that means you are hitting the spike way too much. Next is micronutrient support. Lecithin is a brain food. So we're going to actually support the brain because the brain is the active part of these brain hormones. I don't know about you, but I cannot win the battle against my brain hormones. I have to outsmart them. And this is, I'm teaching you right here how to outsmart them. Lecithin is a brain neuron supporter. Salmon oil, oh my. Benefits of salmon oil: controls blood sugar, reduces triglycerides, slows plaque on the artery walls, reduces risk of strokes, improves insulin sensitivity, improves mood, reduces inflammation. Oh my goodness, give me some salmon oil today. Not just any salmon oil will do, only the Neolife. That's another class. How about a carotenoid? A carotenoid is the very dark colored fruits and vegetables. It's a group of family of fruits and vegetables that specifically make up your immune system and are your #1 fighters of antioxidants in the body. So what is an antioxidant going to do? It's going to protect organ and glands and all the body tissue. Why? Because every time you do a sugar spike, you actually damage tissue. What's the #1 tissue you're damaging? Is your glands. How about grain concentrates? We're not talking about bread per se here, because most of our bread purchased in the stores today is void of these grain concentrates. We're talking about the concentrates of oil that God put within the original grains that actually make up your cell membrane efficiency. So your cells, if they're starving, if they're constipated, if they can't communicate, it's because these 3 amazing grain concentrate oils are missing in the picture. So are you getting the picture here? That we're supplying the body with some good quality micronutrient oils? Here, lecithin, salmon oil, carotenoids, and the TRANN, fat-soluble nutrients that feed the brain. The next is nutrients to consider. Aloe. Why aloe? Because it is a de-stressor. So it actually retrains the gut. It retrains the digestive system. So if you have issues, any kind of digestive issue, I don't care if it's IBS, I don't care if it's acid reflux, I don't care what it is, Crohn's, aloe is a healer, and it calms the digestive system, and it accelerates the healing, because any kind of digestive issue is because of inflammation, out of control inflammation. The next is calcium and magnesium with vitamin D. What is Cal Mag D going to do? It's going to help with nerve health, muscle function, hormone support. Notice all of these are going to support your hormones, relaxes muscles and nerves. So you're going in on the approach of calming the body down, resetting the brain, satisfying the body hormones, and not overstimulating the brain hormones. Acidophilus is a good probiotic and stabilizing gut bacteria. Remember, your second brain is in your gut. So in other words, the picture here is to starve the bad guys, feed the good guys, and the bad guys have more sweet receptors, more sweet cravings. Duh. In fact, they're the ones that are screaming at you, sending messages. Okay, your brain's going, we need a dopamine fix, and your gut bacteria that is overfed bad guys are all screaming too, we need a fix, we need a fix, we need a fix. And so when you switch out and you let the good guys win more over the bad guys, because you do need some bad guys, but you need them in harmony and balance. So leaky gut syndrome, restore good gut bacteria, breaking the cycle. Multi-min, I can't tell you enough how important minerals are. Minerals, 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 minerals. It's amazing because 80% of Americans are deficient in minerals. These are some specific minerals that stop sugar cravings: selenium, chromium, copper, iron, zinc. Bingo. There was somebody at my house today and he was talking about this issue, that issue, and this issue and that issue. And I just handed him one of the solid copper mule mugs. And I said, drink out of this, you'll get your copper. He said, you mean counting copper pennies don't work? I said, no, drink your water out of this every single day. And you're going to get the right, it's so amazing because you get the right amount of copper when you drink out of a copper mug. Don't get one of those cheap ones that looks like copper on the outside and is aluminum on the inside. You'll get a totally different effect. One you want, like Alzheimer's, from that one. The next is normalizing blood sugar. What do minerals do? They normalize blood sugar. They break down carbs. You mean carb metabolism is dependent on the level of minerals, and 80% of Americans are deficient in minerals? Cravings are a sign of deficiency. Remember pica, anemic? This is all a deficiency of minerals in the body. You know, when people would say, they would say, the child is out there eating dirt. That's because the body, the biology of that child is craving the mineral. I learned through doing this class that they actually, when you go to consume veal, that they actually starve the calf because the calf becomes anemic, and they found that these calf were eating the nails in their pen to try to get iron, to try to get minerals. Wow. Wow. So right here you have feed your body, rest and reset your body. How? Aloe, CalMag-D, and acidophilus, and multi-min. These are great, exceptional, superior quality choices for reaching for your micronutrients. Then you have glandular support. As we talk about blood sugar and brain hormones, sugar artificially stimulates the brain pleasure hormones. Chronic consumption of sugar changes the brain chemistry. Just thinking of sugar changes your brain chemistry. Now, as we've been talking about this, I want to raise a hand. How many of you have had a picture in mind of cakes, cookies, pies, or anything else? Okay, be honest. All right, ask me that you just say sugar, and all of a sudden, ooh, your favorite apple pie comes in your mind. Ooh, your favorite carrot cake pops in your mind. Have we been programmed or what? Your bioenergetic circuit consists of 3 organs. They're actually glands, okay? And it's your liver, your pancreas, and your thyroid. My heart weeps because I've never heard so many people call me with pancreatic disease pancreatic cancers, thyroid diseases, and liver issues. And it's all from this right here. Overstimulation and overtoxicity. So their job is to make energy needed to carry out the functions of every cell in your body. And sugar causes the body stress, inflammation. Sugar disrupts the primary function, causing more body stress. And then the stress hormones are released of cortisol. And guess what? Love sugar. Cortisol loves sugar. So I recommend the glucose balance for every single person that wants to help support their glandular system. This, I tell you, the testimonies are incredible on this glucose balance. Why? Because it's a synergistic Ayurvedic blend of herbals and cinnamon and chromium and turmeric. It also has an antioxidant, alpha lipoic acid. It has I'm sorry, that is not spelled correctly there. It's supposed to be adaptogenic herbs, not apoptogenic, but it's supposed to be adaptogenic herbs. And what is an adaptogenic herb? It's herbs that help the body cope with emotional and physical stressors and promotes mental balance and controls blood sugar. So we should be putting adaptogenic herbals in our body. And this is one of the best quality blends, Ayurvedic blend of adaptogenic herbs that I have found. The next solutions for glandular support, Super B, CoQ10, and Vegan D. Why? CoQ10 is a powerful antioxidant found in cells that helps the body fight free radical damage. It produces energy. So in other words, anything that's going to produce energy in the body is being impaired, being overstressed by overconsumption of sugar. Your brain, your heart, your blood pressure, all will be supported by having enough CoQ10 in the body. Super B, having the complete family of Bs. There are 8 families of Bs, plus you have some kissing cousins, inositol and choline. Nerve function, digestion, leaky gut, energy. Did you know your bees help you digest food? Did you know that bees help you with energy? Yeah, we all kind of all knew that our B vitamins help with energy, right? But how about leaky gut? Oh, nerve function, absolutely. And our vegan D. More and more research is coming in about vitamin D and how recently, we just learned over 75% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D. Oh my goodness, especially if you don't live in Florida and don't get sunshine every day. So how about your vitamin D? Benefits. It helps with anxiety, handling stress, helps with depression, helps when your vitamin D levels are low, your appetite is triggered, and food cravings can be reduced greatly by having sufficient amounts of vitamin D in the body. Wow. Whoa. So everybody, if you want to take a snapshot of this slide, I went and did a little research on sugar switch. So remember in the documentary, they said you don't have to take are you saying, LaVonne, do you have to take the joy out of everything? No, because I've learned to actually cook quite delicious, delightful desserts using alternative plant-based sweeteners. So we got to talk about a few of them that you can choose as you switch out from the, I'd say bad sugars to switching into when you want something once in a while, you can choose a healthier option. One that will not spike the blood sugar, one that will not cause inflammation, and one that will not damage your body or trigger a lot of the receptors. My favorite is Whole Earth, because Whole Earth is something that's a blend of the 3 sugars, which is stevia, erythritol, and monk fruit. Then you have monk fruit. Then you have stevia. A lot of people say, well, stevia has an aftertaste to it. I agree with them. But I have found that stevia, liquid stevia, is a little bit different. And I do use a liquid stevia for my sweetening of my tea. It works great for me. Then you have erythritol. Now, erythritol is made from corn sugar and it's fermented. So there's no sugar left in it. It's a process that they use. So a lot of people can't tolerate this in their digestion. Now, also, since it is fermented, when it first touches the tongue, it's almost like a cooling effect. And I don't like that. That's why I don't care for erythritol alone, and a little bit of it, mixed and blended, fine. Xylitol also may cause intestinal distress. A lot of people say they can't take xylitol because of that. It's also a fermented type sugar. Swerve is also a blend. And they're actually coming out with more and more alternatives. I noticed when I was out in Publix shopping the other day, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to try this. And there's one on here that I'm going to try. And because they're seeing that people are making the switch and they're buying less sugar, and they're wanting, the consumer demand is for better options outside of artificial sweeteners. We want to stay away from those. So the next is pure cane. Now that's a new one that was out on the market, and it's a fermented sugar cane without the sugar. It's called the REBM, but it tastes like sugar, has no aftertaste, texture like sugar, dissolves like sugar, and in baking, it's measure to measure as sugar. So if the cake requires for a cup of sugar, it would be a cup of pure cane. The next is, again, liquid stevia. I do like my liquid stevia for liquids, but you cannot bake with liquid sweeteners, not unless it's maybe a pudding or when you're making your homemade yogurts and things like that, and you want to put a little sweetener in that, fine. Or maybe even any kind of drinks, smoothies and things like that. But when you're baking, you need the texture and the fiber and the volume of granulated sugar. So here's another choice. It's called Baca Sweet from the Bacha. It's called Bacha Sweet, and it's from the Bacha Squash. And actually, when I did my research, this one tested out actually that tasted more like sugar without any kind of cooling aftertaste or a bitter aftertaste. And again, it was good for baking too. And then Sucrin Gold is another sweetener that's being used, and it kind of tastes a little bit like brown sugar. That's why they call it gold. And it is a blend of different erythritol, steviol. Anyhow, the process, as you can see here, is a little bit process that they use to get the sweetness. So you just have to determine what you like best to use in your baking and in your drinks. So quitting sugar will have an immediate impact on your health. Couldn't you see the gentleman when he stopped, let's say, a lot of the carbs and he switched out his food, that his skin tone got better? He dropped the unwanted pounds. He had more energy. Food issues are never about food in the end, but a message from your body and your environment that there's something else that needs our attention and loving care. So please be sweet to yourself and help yourself to take back the power and say no more sugar addiction, especially in 2023. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to stop the recording now, get back with the person that gave you the information on this link, and let's all make a commitment to join the 2023 Healthier, Happier, and feeling better and more whole as a person, having balance in our brain hormones and balance in our body hormones. God bless.